But that leads beautifully in She-Hulk episode 7, where we got to enjoy the use of many smaller unknown villains.
Yes, I had no idea about any of these.
Yeah, it was fucking brilliant. Even I didn't recognize half of them. I genuinely believe this was the funniest episode of She-Hulk so far. For me. I felt myself chuckling at this episode more than any other.
I don't know if it was the funniest one for me. There was definitely some good funny moments.
So yeah, like I said,
I enjoyed it though.
Yeah, I mean, it was, for me, this show is exactly what I wanted it to be. Very reliable, very. I mean, it ticks all my boxes. It's nice and short. Without it doesn't. Other than the first couple of episodes, I'm not sitting there going, "I need another 20 minutes." But I am always looking forward to the next week, and it always gives me something. And it's different to what we've had from Disney Plus so far with Marvel shows, which I enjoyed.
And it's also just like is and actually in a way very different to any Marvel content we've had thus far.
Yep. So
I will say though, I am disappointed with one thing.
Go on.
We still haven't had our boy. Our boy hasn't shown up.
I know. It's an interesting one. So, for those who need a recap of the episode in case you're catching up on this at a later date, the entire premise is Josh, who Jen met at the wedding, they've gone on a couple of dates, they finally done the deed. Yeah, he's no longer my favourite Josh. Crumb season's back in first. I did call that last week, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get to it. I'll restrain myself.
So they finally slept together. Jen was getting all in her own head because he didn't instantly call her. Then Abomination's parole officer got in contact with her and said, Emil's inhibitor collar's not working properly. I have to go out there and check it. Can you come along as his lawyer and as She-Hulk in case he's not feeling too cooperative? Which I think is a very interesting way to show how Jen's powers can be used in a very legal and useful way while still being a lawyer.
I'll be honest, I feel like he was less asking because he was his lawyer. He was purely asking because he was told, well, we're not sending anyone with you. And he didn't want to go on his own. So he was like, oh, well, maybe She-Hulk will help me.
Yeah, I mean, it helps that she has a vested interest in the case because she's his lawyer. But I just thought that was very good. Then obviously once we're at Abomination's ranch, he is mellow as he's been throughout the entire show. Lets the guy do his ankle bracelet so it's working again. Is very upset when the police officer runs away like, thank fuck that's over. Because Emil's just like, I'm trying to be a better person. I'm trying to be nice and chill. This guy still hates me for no real reason.
He fucking sped off so fast.
Which I greatly enjoyed. And then as Jen's getting ready to go because she wants to get back to the city to stare at her phone more to wait for Josh's call, we get Manbull and El Aruga, or the Eagle.
Glad you did his name because I would have.
I'm so far off. I don't even know if it's remotely correct. I just said it with chest. Come out fighting and bash into Jen's car, basically totaling it. To which Jen isn't too best impressed.
Yeah, I loved the Mambo was raring, like getting ready to go in for another thing. She just grabs him by she changes to She-Hulk and then grabs him by the hand and she yeets him.
Yeah, it was very good. So what we get essentially is her at the retreat with a bunch of reforming villains. I won't say super villains because other than Abomination, none of them are super villains in the MCU. Who are trying to work on their issues to become functioning members of society, which in and of itself is a solid comedy concept.
Oh yeah, and like the characters that they picked, one being probably people that a lot of viewers don't have a clue who they are.
I'm going 95%. myself included, didn't know them.
And also very obscure. Like, each one is very different.
I'm willing to bet like there was only 4 of them. I'm willing to bet probably 3 out of them 4 have only been used once or twice ever. And maybe one of them, like Mamble or
Possibly.
something's been used a couple of more times.
Possibly.
And this is the bit that I'm really enjoyed about the show, is the Wrecker walks in from the Wrecking Crew all the way back in episode 2.
Yep.
3, whichever one.
I think it was 2 because she mentions it.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed the 4th wall breaker. Can we do it previously on this guy? Previously on this guy.
I was like, oh, this is Conor being attacked here.
Yeah, I was like that. I found that funny. That got a good chuckle out of me. Yeah. But the idea that the Wrecking Crew, who do get used a lot in comics, are in a really good like. We've got a comic here in between 2 arcs. Mm-hmm. We need a villain for it. Wrecking Crew, is that kind of vibe. Right. So to see him like, oh no, I'm staying, trying to apologize. When I saw him, bearing in mind at the end of last week we saw the needle and everything, I was like, wait, they're gonna get her to calm down. Then she transformed back into Gem when she was in the circle. I was like, they're gonna jump her now, and then they didn't.
Yeah, no, I like when they're all sat there in the circle and he's like, why don't you go trust us with Gen form? I'm like, this is a trap. This is all a trap. I called this abomination. This is all a trap, and then nothing happens, and I'm like, oh, it's not a trap. Maybe I'm being too judgmental of it.
And you know what? I think that's exactly what it was. I think it was kind of the show going, people can change. You've got to give them a chance. But in my head, I'm like, Jen, don't do it. Don't do it. They're gonna jump you.
It's like it's like the classic show setup of someone getting double crossed. And you're like, okay, well, we all know where this goes. Like typical show fashion, they're just going to get her to relax, and then this is going to be the opportunity where he goes and stabs her with a needle. But I will say, I was thinking that, but then I was like, we saw a bigger needle though, so surely that meant that they didn't need her to be in Gen form. So I was like, there was a little bit of like, okay, maybe this is legit, like creeped in there, and then obviously. Nothing happened.
I did enjoy how they were all ready to roll up Bush and absolutely kill him for ghosting her.
Yeah, when she started explaining the situation more.
Yeah. It was when Aguila used his sword with the bioelectricity, and you just got a mill like, you've been told about doing that in group. Can you please stop?
I also like that the fake vampire, as he was referred to, or the guy that thinks he's a vampire, they were all like, yeah, we should go beat him up, and then he was like, and suck his blood. Just always kept like just dropping in there and drink their blood.
Yeah,
which I think leaned into the whole like, is he actually a vampire? Because this feels very forced in some of the things he's saying.
Yeah, but it was really, really good. I enjoyed it. We then obviously see Jane get back in her car after the tow truck comes to collect her, and she's ready to go back to the city, rejuvenated, mentally reset for whatever happens next.
Mm-hmm.
Which is then when we get the flashback to the night of the boinking.
Yeah, 3 days prior.
Yeah. And my suspicions from last week that I did not want to believe are proven to be true.
And
Josh
I
is
said
up
he
to no
wouldn't.
good.
I said, nah, he seems legit. And all through,
did you?
Yeah, last week I said he seems legit, and you were like, nah, there's something I don't quite trust him, but I hope it's not the case. And then it's like, this episode is like, oh, they're meeting. I was like, oh, cool, they're meeting up. She's going on a date. Nice. Oh, second date. Oh, I was like, oh, third date. Because it was like bouncing through all the things that they were doing. And I was like, gosh, he's really, things are going well. And then he ghosts, and I'm like, classic guy just ghosted a girl because he didn't know how to handle the situation. And then we go to the free, and it shows him doing creepy shit, and I'm like, you fucking prick. We trusted you, Josh. Why?
Yeah.
Why are you making men look bad?
Yeah, it really did hurt, and I think that shows how good a job they did.
Yeah, they really set him up well.
Once again, we saw the name when he was texting to say Hulk King.
Yeah.
I can't get past the similarity between saying Hulk King and Hulkling. They're they're too similar in names, especially with the rumor of Hulkling being in this show, for me to write this off as a coincidence. It probably is a coincidence, but I can't, in good conscience, write off as a coincidence and then risk looking like an idiot if he does show up.
There was something I saw online where someone said, "What if Hulk King is referring to the leader
That is also very possible.
because he's more intelligent? He thinks he's the."
I don't know what the leader would want with Hulk blood when Hulk blood's already got into his system, hence giving him his power.
Well, I guess the idea is like if the leader's working for this new world order, if there's someone that wants
Yeah.
it.
Maybe it's interesting to see where this goes. And with 2 episodes left, I hope they don't try and wrap this up during the series. I hope we get left with more questions than answers. Because right now, for them to
So do
wrap this
I.
up, for them to wrap this up now, the pacing's going to be thrown off. And so far, the pacing's been great.
This is my one. Like, I'm really enjoying this series, and I'm enjoying the whole like sitcom, and essentially is a lawyer show, and each episode is its own little like sub thing. My worry is shows of this style are usually like 20 episodes long for a season because it allows them to very slowly build an overall arc of story, like a story arc. This only being 9 episodes long, I'm worried they're gonna try and wrap something up at the end.
Yeah,
and it's like
but they could
feels
just
like
decide they're going to set up for a second season.
they could. My worry with that though is if they set up something that feels like kind of an urgent issue. Like if they set it up in quite a cliffhanger way and then we have to wait like another year and a bit or something for season 2,
Yeah,
it's kind of rough.
it is.
So,
but what we do need to discuss is something that we both saw once again, basically instantly after finishing recording last week, which is TikTok's theories about Nikki.
Oh yeah.
Now, I don't know how like in depth the stuff you saw about this was. I know I sent you some bits, but I don't think I sent you the most in depth one I saw.
Send me
basically
one.
Yeah. So she did our favorite thing that I'm spotting that I've said for months now is going to lead up to something that you're not 100% convinced on. Of people looking straight down the camera. She did that last week when they were looking at the fake Reddit. Oh, by the way, Intelligentsia is a supervillain black net website in the comics where supervillains communicate. They just Reddited it up for this to make it seem funnier.
Yeah, makes sense.
But basically, I threw my train of thought off. The theory, yes. So she's looked down the 4-4, which everyone's like, "Ooh, why she done that? That's suspicious." People have also gone back in other episodes, and you can see her smirking in the background occasionally for no apparent reason when Jen's breaking the fourth wall, as if she can hear what Jen's saying.
Yeah.
She has an earring that you can only see when she's breaking, or when it appears that she's looking straight down the camera, that's dangling hidden behind her hair normally, that looks like Agatha's necklace.
Right.
And in the comics, Agatha had a son called Nick.
Interesting.
And obviously the main thing is Nikki has a necklace that's like a pentagram.
Yeah.
Is it a pentagram? Is that the right shape?
Yeah.
So people are maybe a little bit suspicious of Nikki and her potential motives, and maybe Nikki isn't a friend after all.
Yeah, so your theory with the whole 4-4 breaking is like, I agree that there's something going on. There's some of the ones where people are claiming it's that. I don't know if they're like, there's some where it's like very hard to tell if it is them actually looking at the camera or not properly.
Yes, sometimes it's maybe a little editing mistake, and sometimes it's definitely that person's just stared straight down the camera.
But yeah, I would say this one with Nikki definitely is like she stares at the camera. And Though I think also the kind of reason that I feel like there's something in this is because the way that WandaVision played out and like how Agatha and that really we had no indication that anything really was dodgy. Like
We
no
knew
one,
Agatha was a bit sus, but not to the extent.
yeah, but like people definitely didn't pick up on it until it kind of was like, oh shit, she's sus.
Mm.
So now I feel like people are definitely more wary of these overly friendly characters at times.
Uh huh.
So yeah, I think whether we get a reveal of anything before the end of the season, I don't know. It might be a case of the last episode we get a scene of just Nikki talking to someone that then reveals something about her.
Very, very possible.
In before she's Hulk King.
I mean, maybe. Who knows?
And she's been wanting the blood.
Yeah, you did touch on something that I do want to mention earlier about there being no Daredevil yet.
Oh yeah.
I can only assume that means he's going to play a big part in the last 2 episodes.
Has to be.
There's only like maybe 50 minutes of the show left.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to have to be in at least, like, I don't mean actual screen time, but I mean be around for at least 30 minutes of that. So I'm taking 10 minutes at the beginning of the next episode, 10 minutes off the end where Jen's wrapping up her shit,
Mm.
and that gives us a 30 in the middle.
Yeah, I think it's getting to the point now where like he has to be kind of the main person introduced next episode. Otherwise, I worry if they just do it as some like ending post-credit scene or something where they meet and talk. It's kind of like, well, why did you tease that like so early with like the trailer and stuff? It's like if they don't actually make use of him in some way, I feel like they've just blueballed the whole community for no reason.
Yeah. And I'm okay with the bit of blue balling they've done so far where they've made us wait for 7 full episodes. That's okay. But if all we get is like at the end of the very last episode, them meeting, that is genuinely a point of contention, which I think is valid. But overall, this show has been phenomenal in my opinion. I've really enjoyed it.
There was also still no post-credit scene again this week, which is upsetting. I feel like I got debated because there was the rumor that there was one every episode, and then like the first 3 episodes all had one.
Well, it was more than that. It was the first 5.
We haven't had one
the last
for like
2 weeks. They haven't had one.
No, it's not had one for like 3 weeks.
But they were all like little comedy skits, and it would have been so perfect.
Yeah,
to just have little funny things. I mean, this one at the end of today's episode could have literally been them, like putting with nose plugs in, putting the porcupine suit into like a big industrial washing machine or something.
Yeah, they could have done all sorts of stuff.
Yeah,
I do feel like they've missed opportunity.
It is. Yeah, 100%. Just funny little 30-second bits to make us laugh.
Yeah.
Anyway. The show so far has been really good. I'm looking forward to see where it ends up and what we can look forward to from it. Maybe in a second season, or a She-Hulk film, or just She-Hulk outings in other shows and stuff.
Yep. And hopefully we get a substantial Daredevil interaction.
That would be phenomenal, because I miss my boy.
So does everyone.